So, good evening, all. Today is 25th of October 2023, and we are continuing our group discussion, which we have planned for every week. So, in today's session, Vedika Kamble is here, who is an old student of Sambodhi Career Academy, Thane, Mumbai region. And last time, Reni Rosario, she delivered very important presentation on very important topic on Israel and Palestine conflict. So today's very important session is Uniform Civil Code, that is Saman Nagrik Kaida. And you must be aware about this thing that in recent period there was much debate, uh, uproar, and controversy, conflicting statements, arguments, etc., on this very important issue, that is Uniform Civil Code. There is a group of people who are in favor of implementation of this specific concept of Uniform Civil Code. And in our constitution, in the Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 44, there is a mention of Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so I welcome Vedika on the behalf of Sambodhi Career Academy, and Vedika, you can start your presentation, okay, on Uniform Civil Code. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will first like to say thank you to Mangesh sir for giving me this opportunity. And I will start my topic, that is Uniform Civil Code. So, Uniform Civil Code, we will first see the introduction, what is mean by Uniform Civil Code. So, Uniform Civil Code is a legal framework, though it is not enforceable by law. It is a set of uniform laws regarding various matters like inheritance, marriage, adoption, successions, and divorce applicable to all citizens, irrespective of the religion, community, race, sex, and caste. समान नागरी कायदा म्हणजे देशातील सर्व धर्मियांच्या नागरिकांसाठी एकच कायदा लागू करणे in Marathi. In other words, we can say that it means one country and one rule. As we all know, that is Uniform Civil Code is ongoing debate within Indian mandate to replace personal laws based on the scriptures and customs of each major religious community in India within a common set of rules governing every citizen. So, with moving to the पहिलं आपण युनिफॉर्म सिव्हिल कोड जाणून घ्यायच्या आधी आपण पर्सनल लॉ काय आहे हे बघूया. Personal law refer to a set of laws that govern personal matters including marriage, divorce, adoption, and maintenance, among others. In India, personal laws are associated with different religious communities such as Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Parsi, and Sikh communities. Personal laws are determined based on religious identity. So in our constitution, personal law subjects like marriage, divorce come under the concurrent list. So in India, we can see there are different religions, cultures, belief, faith. So their belief is decided by the set of laws. Like every community has a set of laws. So there are certain laws, like example, the Special Marriage Act 1954, the Hindu Marriage Act enacted in 1955, and the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. So we will first see what is the background of this Uniform Civil Code. So the origin of the Uniform Civil Code dates back to the colonial India when the British government submitted its report in 1835, stressing the need for uniformity in the codification of Indian law relating to the crimes, evidence, and contracts. Specifically recommending that personal laws of Hindu and Muslim be kept outside such codification. And there are Jawaharlal Nehru's visions on this uniform civil code. Jawaharlal Nehru envisioned a modern and progressive India and saw the uniform civil code as an essential element of nation building. He believed that the UCC would help eliminate division based on religion and promote equality among others. So this is an important vision of our Jawaharlal Nehru's vision. So next is Hindu Code Bill. So the Hindu Code Bill sought to codify and modernize Hindu personal laws relating to marriage, divorce, adoption, and inheritance. It was a step towards a uniform civil code as it aimed to bring uniformity in personal laws within the Hindu community. So there are some important judgment of Supreme Court, that is important cases related to the Uniform Civil Code. That is, first we will see is Shah Bano Begum versus Muhammad Ahmad Khan in 1985. So in this case, what happened was Shah Bano Begum, a 62-year-old woman, filed a petition in the court in 1978 demanding a maintenance from her divorced husband, Muhammad Ahmad Khan. Their Muslim personal law played a major role. So this case involved a triple talaq verdict. It upholds the public trust in the legal system because in this case, the justice and equality has overcome religion. So the Supreme Court's decision in this case was a big step forward in showing how important is uniform civil code. The case was about women who had divorced by triple talaq and wanted a support. So the Supreme Court judgment in this case sparked debates on the need for a uniform civil code to ensure gender justice and equal rights for women across religious communities. Second case is Shaira Bano versus Union of India, that is in 2017. In that case, there was a
हा वेदिका कुठे आहेस? हॅलो.
हॅलो,
हा वेदिका, आवाज
आवाज येतोय का सर?
हा येतोय.
हा, तर सेकंड केस इज Shaira case. In this case, Shaira Bano was one of those women who were survivors of domestic violence and dowry harassment. This case led to the ban of the Muslim practice of triple talaq. It is a process of divorce under the Sharia law, where a Muslim man can instantly divorce his wife by pronouncing the word talaq 3 times without any state intervention. So the Muslim women were not allowed to divorce their spouses under Islamic law, but only their husbands. So the Supreme Court declared the practice of triple talaq as unconstitutional and violative of the dignity and equality of women, Muslim women. It also recommended that the parliament should enact on the law to regulate Muslim marriages and divorces. So following the court's decision in 2017, the Parliament of India passed the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019. So the important thing, that is constitutional perspective on Uniform Civil Code. So as we all know that Uniform Civil Code is presented in Directive Principle of State Policy in Article 44 of Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, states that the state shall endeavor to secure for its citizen a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. The Uniform Civil Code in the Indian Constitution is not enforceable in legal terms, but can always be considered a guiding principle for the government. So, also Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar saw the Uniform Civil Code as a means to achieve a truly secular and democratic India, free from the inequalities and injustice of the past. He also argued that personal laws based on religion violate the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution. So in 1941, B.N. Rao Committee recommended the codified Hindu law, which would give equal rights to women in keeping with the modern trends of society. So, there are arguments that are there for the UCC that is in favor of the UCC and against the UCC. So we should see what is the need of Uniform Civil Code first. So national integration and secularism. Secularism is the objective enshrined in the preamble. A secular republic needs a common law for all citizens rather than differentiated rules based on religious practices. It will provide secularism by treating all religions equally and reducing communal conflicts. So it is the first most important need for Uniform Civil Code. And second one is equal status for all. So personal laws are gender biased, as we can see in there are many communities. So there are many community personal laws, we can say. So the Uniform Civil Code will end discrimination in religions as it will replace individual personal customs and practices of marriage, divorce, adoption, and successions with a common code. For example, triple talaq. It would also empower women. It will also empower women to challenge the patriarchal and regressive practices that violate their fundamental rights. So we can see in our country there are many patriarchal. There is a patriarchal society, we can say, and to abolish this patriarchal society, we need a uniform civil code. And it is, we can say, it is also the main challenge for the Uniform Civil Code to implement this law. Third is modernization and reform of outdated practices. So Uniform Civil Code modernizes and reforms outdated practices, aligning personal laws with human rights and constitutional values. It abolishes practices like triple talaq and child marriage. So there are many evil practices going on in some states where women are denied to get equal rights in their workplaces, colleges, etc. So it will modernize, this law will modernize women in and also the outdated practices. So next is harmonizing diverse traditions. So all we know that there are many culture, religions, etc. So this will Uniform Civil Code will strive to harmonize diverse cultural, regional, and religious practices, fostering social cohesion and national integration. By creating a common set of laws applicable to all citizens, a uniform civil code will minimize conflicts arising from differences in personal laws. So there are many arguments regarding the Uniform Civil Code. First is violation of religious freedom. So the critics argue that the Uniform Civil Code may infringe upon the freedom to practice the religion to one's choice, which allows religious communities to follow their own personal law. For example, Article 25 of the Indian Constitution gives every religious group the right to manage its own affairs, and Article 29 allows them to conserve their distinct culture. So, if we implement, there are many arguments regarding this Uniform Civil Code, and this is the main argument that is found. Second is religious and cultural diversity. So, India is a diverse nation, and different communities should have the right to maintain their distinct customs and practices. Uniform Civil Code could infringe upon religious freedom and might clash with religious practices. Concerns of minorities. So there are impediments in adoptions of the Uniform Civil Code when it comes to the addressing minority concerns such as separatism, conservatism, and misconceived notions about personal laws. Most minorities feel a sense of insecurity, complete loss of identity, and marginalization within Indian society, and imposition of a majoritarian outlook on minority religions. If Uniform Civil Code comes into existence as a law, so there will be various issues relating to the drafting of the Uniform Civil Code. So one of the biggest obstacle in implementing the Uniform Civil Code, that is apart from obtaining a consensus, is the drafting. There is no guideline or vision document where whether a Uniform Civil Code be a blend of all personal laws or a new and a common law adhering to the constitutional mandate. So there is issue of drafting the Uniform Civil Code where we cannot say that we have a different Uniform Civil Code or we have a different personal law. So recently Uniform Civil Code has implemented in Goa. So in India, only Goa state in India to implement Uniform Civil Code regardless of religion, gender, and caste. So Goa has a common family law. In Goa, Hindu, Muslim, Christians all are bound with the same law related to the marriage, divorce, and successions. So there is a Law Commission of India report on UCC. As we all know, Law Commission of India is a non-statutory body constituted by Government of India from time to time, and there is a 21st Law Commission held in 2018. It had issued the consultation paper on reforms of family law. The paper pointed out that the prevailing laws place women at a disadvantage because of discrimination. Then 22nd Law Commission, it again decided to solicit views and ideas of the public at large and recognize religious organization about the Uniform Civil Code. So this is the recent development, 22nd Law Commission. So
वेदिका, हॅलो.
हॅलो सर.
झालं का तुझं?
हा.
ओके. याच्यावरती एक ओव्हरऑल परत हे करणं म्हणजे ते इथपर्यंतच आहे का हे? एक एक
हो सर,
कन्साइज
एवढे
मध्ये
बघा.
हा ठीक आहे. एक कन्साइज मध्ये तुझा व्ह्यू पॉइंट ठेव याच्यावरती आणि एक ओव्हरऑल थोडं कन्क्लूड कर त्याला प्रॉपरली.
Okay, sir. So, Uniform Civil Code, as it is mentioned in the liberal principle of directive principle of state policy, it is not justiciable in nature. So, as we and it is a currently debating topic, so we cannot say that Uniform Civil Code should be implemented, but also I'm not favoring that ki uniform civil code should be implemented, but also there are some rights like freedom of religion, so that is violated because of uniform civil code, and that should be protected if it is implemented. And also it is better to implement uniform civil code because it creates equality among the men and the women and all the individuals in the society. So everyone has a different perspective on this, and I will conclude on this topic. Yes, thank you. And this discussion is open to all.
Okay, so according to you, what should be the stand of government? Like whether government should go in favor of UCC or government should reject UCC? After studying this topic in law a lot, okay, because you have shared so many slides and important commissions and cases also you shared, right? And on the basis of that, I'm having some understanding that uh, UCC is somehow important. Okay, its implementation is important, and on the other hand, there are constitutional provisions which are related to the protection of the rights of the minorities. Okay, but on the other
Yes,
hand, there are another things like uh, uh, there is a need of this kind of laws to protect the rights of the women also. Okay,
yes,
irrespective of religion. So,
yes.
what is your specific stand, your own stand?
Sir, I think this like our fundamental right should be protected, but also the uniform civil code should be implemented because mm, there are many inequalities created in this society, and as we all know that it is a patriarchal society, so it is a big challenge for our society to implement this law. And yes, I will say this on.
You are in favor of this. You are in favor
Yeah,
of UCC. You are in favor of UCC. Okay,
yes, sir.
okay, okay. Thank you, Vedika, for this good presentation. You have taken efforts for this presentation. Okay, and now I am expecting uh, participation of the other students. You can put your views related to UCC. All of you, all of you. Yes. बाकीच्यांनी व्ह्यू पॉइंट्स UCC वरती मांडू शकता. या आदित्य प्लीज.
आहे तर खूप काही तसं बोलायला. ऍक्च्युली लाईक मी केला असता टॉपिक कारण की लाईक आय हॅव डन सम रिसर्च ऑन दिस.
या यू कॅन शेअर युअर पॉइंट व्ह्यू पॉइंट्स. नो नो इश्यू. आपण बरंच डिस्कस करू शकतो याच्यावरती.
Okay. So the first, like, I want to like tell Vedika, like when she is mentioning facts about real religions, for example, then she has to be very sure when she says something. So like she had mentioned that Muslim women cannot divorce as per Islamic law. That is not true. So that has to be kept in mind. Like when we are making these statements, like our research is supposed to be very strong because we cannot like say anything. And when we are
Mm.
quoting other people, then we have to like give the citations from where they said that. So for example, she said that Nehru, PM Nehru, he like said in favor and so on and so forth, and Dr. Ambedkar said something. So she has to mention that where is this being said, because that will add credibility to her own premise. So for
Right.
example, the debates in the Constitution Assembly which were happening, and this all was being discussed over there. So there, Dr. Ambedkar has made many points
Mm.
in respect to UCC and so on.
Mm. Mm.
Another one is that will UCC have a provision for same-sex marriage? That's a very important one that we have to consider. Uh, and then like another one is that like a common set for of laws for all, but then is it okay to enforce it on them? Like there should be voluntarily. That's what Dr. Ambedkar is suggesting, that people should voluntarily accept the UCC, and a majoritarian government cannot enforce it on other people. So he is even assuring the Muslim MP members of parliament in a debate, I think on 23rd November 1948, during a discussion on UC. Dr. Ambedkar assured the Muslim MPs that Article 35, which is basically now draft Article 44, does not claim that after the code is framed, the state shall impose it upon all citizens merely because they are citizens. I'm quoting him. He advocates for a voluntary application of UCC by citizens to themselves. Therefore, one would not be forced to give up their personal laws and may choose to do so upon their own voluntary will. So, this one aspect is very important, especially when we are dealing with minorities and given our history of partition. Because the current government, which is enforcing this, were not big fans of Nehru. So it sort of doesn't explain us that why they have suddenly become pro UCC, and like why they have like given up their stance. So another thing about the Portuguese civil law, which is basically Goa Civil Code. If we look at the Goa Civil Code, then it does not treat all religions as equal. Like there is not one law for everyone. It like includes everyone, but then it also considers their practices, their independent practices as valid. And there is another interesting provision in the Goa Civil Code that Muslim men are not allowed to marry like 4 times, but Hindu men can marry 2 times if their first marriage does not produce a male child. So there are these like variations even among the Goa Civil Code, which was framed by the Portuguese back in the day.
Okay. Aditya, continue.
Hello. So like so what I've written, I'll just like go through it. So we can like historically, from a historical perspective, we can trace this entire personal law back to the Mughal times. So in that, when the Muslim rulers were there, so they allowed the Hindus to have their own personal laws. Of course, the criminal thing was according to Sharia and the Muslim thing, but the personal laws, the Hindus got the liberty to practice their own personal laws. So when the British take over, this was also this thing that like every Hindu community has a panchayat, and they are like administrating their own marriages and their property and their divorces, if divorce is allowed, especially among the lower caste. Like upper caste divorce was not allowed, and the Muslims were allowed to have the personal laws, but the contracting, the criminal laws, etc., were all under the British now. So the Regulating Act of 1773 and the Amendment of 1781, the Supreme Court in Kolkata, they said that the district collector, who also was the judge, was required to administer the personal laws of Hindus and Muslims in the presence of their respective religious leaders. So that was like done. Um, then we like come to this 1835 recommendation, like second law commission report, which goes for a codification of like what she mentioned here, that uniformity when it comes with dealing with crime and contract and evidence, but such uniformity need not be extended to personal laws, like the 1853 recommendation, Law Commission recommendation. Um, so something interesting happens, like 1857 rebellion happens, and then Queen Victoria comes and she says that now onwards we won't interfere in your religious matters.
Right.
So after that, the Hindus and the Muslims got a fair deal of religious autonomy, which also includes practice of their personal laws. Then something about the Hindu personal law. Like now it is the Hindu civil code, but back in the day it used to be the Hindu personal law, like which is basically the Dharma Shastra, which is the private Hindu law. Just like the Hadith is the source for the Muslim law, the Dharma Shastras have been cited as the Hindu private law. They are the scriptural authority over matters of marriage, adoption, succession, joint family, religious endowments, and even caste privileges. So it means that intercaste marriage was not a thing back in the day. However, what is interpreted as Hindu law, now this is a very big problem because it lacks a uniformity. So all these local panchayats all over the Indian subcontinent, all of them are administrating their particular Dharma Shastra. Like the most famous one is Manu Smriti, but then there are others too. For example, Narad Smriti, Vishnu Smriti, Jajna Valkya Smriti, and so on. So this, due to this, there is not much uniformity. Only in 1941, under BN Rao committee, efforts were made to do two things. One was standardizing this Hindu civil law, and other was reforming it. So, like the orthodoxies were dealt with only in 1941. So till 1941, all the local panchayats were practicing their own version, whatever smriti they like. So there was no uniformity when it comes to Hindu law. When it comes to Muslim personal law, like the religion of Islam and all the laws relating to the affairs of Muslims can be traced back to the Islamic Prophet Muhammad, his life, the Sunnah, and the Hadith. In India, however, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, he ordered for a compilation of law which would deal with the matters of Muslims. Later on, the East India Company had allowed the Qazis and the Munsifs to administer the Mohammedan law based on the Quran. In 1937, the British India passed the Sharia Act to be followed in the matters of marriage relating to the Muslim community and divorce and succession. So after independence, this Sharia Act becomes the Muslim personal law, but it basically continues in the same form like what the East India Company had allowed. Now, this is the point where the Hindu nationalists come in. This is very funny. So they are. So what used to happen is that the Dharma Shastras were administered by the Pandits and the Maulavis and Munsifs, and they administered the Sharia. But during 1947, when the Hindu civil law was going to be passed and it was going to be reformed, only the Hindu law, the Dharma Shastras, the rule of Smriti was outlawed, and the Sharia remained. So this was like the point of this was like हे कुठेतरी रुतत होतं त्यांना, like to the Orthodox Hindus. And from then onwards, like earlier they used to be like, no, we want our Dharma Shastras, like how the Muslims have the Sharia. But after the Hindu civil laws passed in the first half of the 1950s, after that they completely changed their stance. The Saffron Brigade, they completely changed their stance. From now on, the narrative was like, let us bring UCC. So earlier it was like we want Dharma Shastras to remain, but once the Hindu civil law was passed by, of course, there was some politics happening that Pandit Nehru was not passing it before he became the prime minister. After he became, he was like, okay, pass it now. So once he passed it, after that they were like, no, now since our law is amended, now we can't practice our smritis. So let the Muslims also not practice their Sharia. So this is a very reactionary stance, and one has to be very much aware of this reactionary nature when discussing these things, because there is no reason why a saffron party would suddenly change its stance from Hindu nationalism to secular. So this background, when we understand this background, it is necessary like to understand this background to grasp why the BJP is supporting UCC, although their unofficial stance is a very pro-Hindu one. This is very important to keep in mind. Now I'll talk about Dr. Ambedkar's position on this thing, on UCC. So, so he says that it cannot be enforced. It has to be like we have to draft a UCC, and then all the communities have to be voluntarily called for participation in this new law. Like they let their personal laws remain, and whoever wants to voluntarily be a part of this new project, they are invited. So, like there was another debate in the debates in Constitutional Assembly on 2nd December 1948, during a discussion which was dealing with fundamental rights. Dr. Ambedkar said that it is quite impossible to conceive that the state shall completely exclude itself from jurisdiction over personal laws. He means that despite freedom of religion being granted as a fundamental right, the reform oriented progressive elements of any given religion may want to have the state's intervention in application of reform oriented policy. Like, for example, the reformist Hindus would welcome state's intervention in reformation of Hinduism. So similarly, it can also be expected of the reform oriented Muslims, but it is not in place for Hindus to decide, like majoritarian Hindus to decide that let us enforce an UCC on them because we are not getting to practice our dharma smritis. It is a very reactionary position. It's not like, it's very important to keep in mind. So, like Dr. Ambedkar had also assured the Muslim leaders in the parliament that even if the state has the power to enforce UCC upon the minorities, such a power is not unlimited because a democratic government needs to reconcile itself with different communities. He added, no government can exercise its powers in such a manner as to provoke the Muslim community to rise in rebellion. I think it would be a mad government if it did so. Like, I'm quoting him, like he thinks that the government which tries to enforce UCC on Muslims is a mad government. Like, that's what he's saying. So there are like, so based on what Dr. Ambedkar has said, like I have figured out, like I have like not drafted, like I've just pointed out some ways in which we can ensure a smooth and a gradual implementation of UCC. So Dr. Ambedkar insists that the participation in UCC should be voluntary. For example, the progressive elements of the Muslim society can choose to be administered under UCC. So in that way, we can like keep the, like practically I'm talking, like we can keep the conservative elements in check, and the progressive elements are invited to come and participate in UCC. The UCC also should allow non-heteronormative couples to get into a civil union. Even the Progressive Hindu Marriage Act overlooks this aspect of human relationship. The Special Marriage Act can be scrapped away with and replaced by UCC. So we basically get rid of the Special Marriage Act and we instead introduce a UCC, and the rest will function according to like whatever is going on. So let the Hindu Act stay, let the Christians have their own, let the Muslims have their own, and let's introduce a UCC while scrapping away the Special Marriage Act, and invite everyone to be a part of it, whoever wants to be, that is. So, like, the concept of secularism is useful while dealing with populations that follow one religion. Like in Europe, you have Christianity and you have like the state. But in India, however, there are multiple religions. Therefore, the state must approach um, a very nuanced way of dealing with these multiple religions. Actually, an alternative is also there. Like since we are considering like an alternative UCC, is that Hindus, like Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains, various tribal communities, and so on, should be allowed autonomy like the Parsis, Christians, and Muslims have to deal with their own civil affairs, because this will be more true to the constitutional principle and the fundamental right of freedom of religion and secularism than enforcing a UCC upon the entire population.
Aditya, Dala? Hello?
हॅलो हॅलो.
हा या आदित्य, झालंय की बोलायचंय पुढे? Yes, are you continuing, Aditya?
नो सर, आय एम डन. हॅलो.
Okay. Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, so yes. So again, because Aditya submitted this assignment on UCC long back, okay. Initially, I gave this as an assignment. So many students, I don't know whether they prepared UCC or not, but Aditya made a thorough research, and this discussion is outcome of that only. Now,
3 वाजतापर्यंत बसले रात्री त्या दिवशी.
yeah. नाही, but
मध्ये सवय पडते त्याची आता रात्रीपर्यंत रिसर्च करण्याची.
त्याच्यामुळे हे एक जे खूप छान तू मांडणी केली आहे ना, that is the outcome of that only, right? So I am expecting the same from rest of the students also. Okay. Vedika also taken efforts. Okay. And with respect to that viewpoint, see, what is my understanding, whenever we are doing or whenever we are preparing as a UPSC aspirant, so we should take references from authentic sources. So that is one very important thing, because on Google search you may get so many sources. Okay, but authenticity is very important. So Aditya has mentioned rightly. Okay, so this is appeal to all of you that whenever you are mentioning and citing examples or comments or some quotes of great personalities, so you need to have that proper references. Okay, so that is one very important point. And Vedika mentioned those two very important cases. Okay, so those two cases are very what you can say, debating and controversial and very important cases, revolutionary cases rather. So all of you go through those cases. Vedika, you share your presentation also, so that I can share to the students. And last two commissions you have mentioned, so that are also important with respect to this discussion. And now whatever points mentioned by Aditya with respect to the opinion of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, so majority should not impose their rules on the minorities. So that is one very important point. Okay, and then progressive society of each section. Okay, so if they are coming forward and if they are coming forward and if they are participating in this in this implementation process, okay, eventually then we can expect the acceptance of this kind of laws, okay, in the long run. Okay, immediately it will be a very, what you can say, controversial step, or it can be a decision which will give birth to some sorts of revolutions or some sort of revolts, which we have experienced in the history, like 1857 revolt. And after that, British government declared that, he mentioned already, the British government declared that we are not going to interfere into your religious matter, because for India like country, religion is a very important thing, which is very people don't give importance to their human rights, fundamental rights, and rest of the things, but they definitely give importance to their religious practices, right? So that's why, very importantly, while implementing this UCC reforms, we can say, it is important to consider the opinion of the minorities, okay, and to study the socio-religious practices in India. Okay, so nice viewpoints mentioned by Aditya also. Rest of the students, they can come forward and they can participate in this discussion. Anybody who studied this UCC, so you can identify certain points. You can value. You can add your points, and if you are having any opinion related to this issue, you can share that opinion also. बाकीच्या स्टुडंट्स कोणी ज्यांनी याच्यावरती केलेला आहे अभ्यास? Yes. Other students like Vedika and Aditya, they have participated, and yes, Vaishnavi.
Hello, sir.
हा
Hello.
हा हा बोल, सम्यक बोल. या सम्यकच्या नंतर
Sir,
वैष्णवी.
सर, जसं आदित्यनी आंबेडकरांबद्दल सांगितलं दॅट ही वॉज ऑफ द ओपिनियन दॅट various communities should come forward regarding the uniform civil code, uh, do but in today's world, do we actually think that various communities would actually come forward regarding this code? Because many of the communities are of the opinion that it is like the uniform civil code is a threat to the diversity of India. So I don't, I mean, I'm not like against the opinion of Ambedkar, as he was a highly intellectual individual, but I don't think that
No, no. What
in
what he
today's
was
world,
saying, what he was saying that the progressive people of the community, not all community, not entire community, the progressive people, those who are, because in every community there are people who are having some constructive mindset, some progressive mindset, some intellectual capacity. So not everybody. We cannot expect from everybody. Okay.
yes, sir, yes.
Yeah. So progressive people of the, like, for example, when we talk about the Hindu social reform, okay. So when we talk
Yeah.
about the Hindu social reform, so Rajaram Mohan Rai came forward. He
Yes.
went against the sati. Okay, many people
Correct.
they stopped. They went against the widowhood,
Correct.
Keshwapan, like. Okay, so that sort of, and among the Muslims also, among the Parsis, among the Christians, okay, there were so many social reformers, and from
Yes.
time to time they tried to change the or to stop the irregularities or the evil things in the society. So that's
Yes.
why that is a very valid statement, and that is, see, in today's world and even after that also, that there are always two sections in the society. One is conservative and another is progressive, and another section
Yes.
is
Correct.
neutral. Another is
Correct.
neutral. है कि नहीं? वो इधर के भी नहीं रहते, उधर के भी नहीं रहते. वो बोलते
Yeah.
चलो चलते हैं, चलता है, चलने दो,
Just going
जैसा है
with the
हमको क्या
flow.
करना है. या जस्ट गोइंग इन द फ्लो. बाबा चला, ठीक है, ये ऐसा है, करने दो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है. So there
Correct.
are three, we can segregate society in three sections. One is progressive, another is conservative, and another is neutral. Okay. Anyway, गुड पॉइंट. ओके, सम्यक. आणखी कोणाला बोलायचं आहे? वैष्णवी, तू बोलणार होतीस. वैष्णवी.
येस सर. सर मला नेम्स फक्त इथे कोट करायचे होते, जे कॉन्स्टिट्युएंट असेंब्लीमध्ये डिबेटिंगच्या टायमाला जे फेवर मध्ये होते आणि जे फेवर मध्ये नव्हते. तर हंसा मेहता, राजकुमारी अमृत कौर, के एम मुन्सी हे युसीसीच्या फेवर मध्ये होते. ते असे बोलायचे की म्हणजे त्यांचं मत असं होतं की वुमेन्सला सबऑर्डिनेट स्टेटस भेटतं आणि प्लस त्यांना प्रॉपर्टीमध्ये हिस्सा पण नाही भेटत. तर त्या हिशोबाने ते युसीसी इम्प्लिमेंटेशनच्या फेवरमध्ये होते. आणि जवाहरलाल नेहरू हे पण युसीसीच्या फेवरमध्ये होते. आणि पोकल साहेब आणि इस्माईल साहेब हे फेवरमध्ये नव्हते. कारण त्यांचं मत असं होतं की मायनॉरिटीजचं काय होणार, मग ते जे ट्रेडिशन्स फॉलो करतात मग ते पण युसीसीच्या अंडरमध्ये बंद होतील. तसेच अलादी कृष्णस्वामी अय्यर, के एम मुन्शी हे युसीसीच्या फेवरमध्ये होते. नजारुद्दीन अहमद त्याच्या अगेन्स्ट होते. त्याचं रिझन असं की द रिलिजियस लॉज ऑफ डिफरंट कम्युनिटी शुड नॉट बी टेम्पर्ड विथ ऑर विदाउट देअर कन्सेंट. तर माझं असं मत आहे याच्यामध्ये की युसीसी इम्प्लिमेंट करायला पाहिजे, बट हे फोर्सफुली नसलं पाहिजे. म्हणजे सगळ्या रिलिजनचं कन्सेंट नुसार आणि ते व्हॉलेंटरी असले पाहिजे. तर त्याच्यानंतर ते ग्रॅज्युअली सगळ्यांच्या सहमतीने मग ते इम्प्लिमेंट झालं पाहिजे. जसं बी आर आंबेडकर पण त्यांचं मत असं होतं की फोर्सफुली कोणावरती नाही झालं पाहिजे. जसं की आधीपासून सगळे रिलिजन ट्रेडिशन्स फॉलो करत आहे, तर त्यांचं ते मग असं व्हायलेंट होतील, त्यांच्या अगेन्स्ट जाऊन हे इम्प्लिमेंट करणं बरोबर नाही. तर माझं पण हेच मत आहे.
Right. Good. And even today also we can see that most of the leaders belong to the, especially Muslim community, they are not in favor of UCC because they are having this. They are saying that this is somehow interference in their own religious practices. So this is a very, what you can say, very traditional viewpoint by so many Muslim leaders even today. Even those days also, even today also. Okay. And yeah, one more point which is identified by Aditya, that is related to the laws related to the personal laws related to the Buddhist Jains. Okay, so Buddhist and Jains, they don't have. They are following the laws of the Hindus. Okay, so that is again very important question, which is also somehow related to this Uniform Civil Code. Okay, means when a group of people is saying that there is a Uniform Civil Code, okay, Uniform Civil Code. So there is another question related to the few communities. They don't have any separate laws, okay, as per their own religious philosophy. But that is another point. We shall have discussion on those topics later on also. Okay, so let us continue with this topic. Yes, आणखी कोणाला बोलायचं याच्यामध्ये? सम्यक, you raise hand.
सर यामध्ये सरला मुद्गल केस आणि सबरीमाला केस पण ऍड होऊ शकता ना?
हा, ते काय आहे ते सांग ना तू. तुझं जे आहे ते सांग तू.
सरला मुद्गल केस मध्ये एक कम्युनिटीची म्हणजे एक बाई आणि तिचा नवरा पण म्हणजे एक हिंदू कम्युनिटी असं असेल, मला शुअर नाहीये, पण ते अदर दॅन मुस्लिम आहेत आणि तिच्या नवऱ्याला म्हणजे सरला मुद्गलला मुस्लिम रिलिजन एक्सेप्ट करायचं होतं, कारण की आफ्टर मुस्लिम रिलिजन एक्सेप्ट केल्यानंतर आपण 4 वेळा लग्न करू शकतो. तर त्यासाठी ते दुसऱ्या रिलिजन मध्ये त्यांना जायचं होतं, मुस्लिम रिलिजन मध्ये. तर ह्याच्यावरती सुप्रीम कोर्टचं डायरेक्शन असं होतं की युसीसी इम्प्लिमेंटेशन करावं गव्हर्नमेंटने. आणि जसं सबरीमाला केसमध्ये केरला गव्हर्नमेंटने 10 एज पासून ते 55 एज पर्यंत जे मुव्हमेंट्स आहेत त्यांना एंटर दिलं नव्हतं टेम्पलमध्ये. तर हे दोन्ही केस पण याच्यामध्ये येतात युसीसी मध्ये.
अच्छा, म्हणजे ती जी मुद्गलची जी केस आहे त्या बाईला काही 4 लग्न करायचे होते का?
नाही सर, बाईला नाही, त्या बाईच्या नवऱ्याला.
अच्छा.
आणि ती बाई तिच्या नवऱ्याला डायव्होर्स देत नव्हती, म्हणून दुसऱ्या रिलिजन मध्ये कन्वर्ट करून त्याला लग्न करायचं होतं.
अच्छा, म्हणजे तो हिंदू होता आणि त्याला मग इस्लाम धर्म स्वीकारायचा होता, असं आहे का ती केस? ओके 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 ओके. म्हणजे समजा तो मुस्लिम धर्म स्वीकारला असता तर त्याला 4 लग्न करता आली असती.
हा, अजून 3 करता आली असती टोटल.
अजून 3 करता आली असती. अच्छा, ओके. ओके, ठीक आहे. या सगळ्या केसेस शेअर करा तुम्ही, ज्या काही आहेत त्या. ठीक आहे, म्हणजे बाकीच्या लोकांनी पण त्याच्यावरती वाचायला पाहिजे. व्हॉट एव्हर केसेस ऑल ऑफ यू sharing. Okay, so you just share to me, I will share to the others. आदित्यला काहीतरी बोलायचं. Yes, Aditya.
I mean, the big question is that where is the draft of UCC? Like it is in talk since 1 year, but then where is the draft? Draft किधर है? किधर है draft? Like है भी क्या नहीं पता नहीं. Like they are talking about it since like 1 or 2 years, but then where is the draft? They can just take the Goa civil law and like create a draft on that. It's not difficult. They can just take the Goa civil law and create a draft, but then where is the draft? So is it like an empty debate happening just because they want to create tension among Muslims and Hindus? Like we have to doubt their intentions. Like why is BJP suddenly becoming pro Nehru in their proposition? Like they don't like that man. So why is it happening? Like one reason is that we don't get our orthodox smritis. That's why Muslims also shouldn't get that. So that's a reactionary approach. It's not like a progressive one. It's very important to keep that in mind.
So they like to whatever I am observing, they are trying to keep or make this impression on the others that we are in favor of your rights, the rights of the Muslim women, right? We are very conscious about the rights of the Muslim women, especially, right? When they forget, they forget the rights of the Hindu women, but suddenly they are becoming very conscious about the Muslim women. असं काहीतरी असू शकतं, राईट? है ना? असंच
I
काहीतरी
mean,
असावं.
it's like very funny, like given their history. I mean, ड्राफ्टच नाहीये ना, so like what are we even talking about? काय कशावर बोलणं चालू आहे? Like there is no draft.
ड्राफ्ट.
It's like lying a UCC, and then they brought this IPC, which is a very shabby work. They have just taken copy paste. Last moment मध्ये homework copy करतात तसं येते. Spelling mistakes, inconsistency, त्या टाईपचं मी वाचलं ते. It's like the same thing. त्याचा इंडियाचं भारत करून टाकलंय. It's like very shabby work. तर लास्ट मोमेंट मध्ये होमवर्क जो कॉपी करतो आपण रात्री तसं आहे ते.
So it's a experiment. Their main intention to start a debate, okay, to start a debate and to understand the reactions of the communities, okay, intellectuals, groups, like it's असंच काहीतरी ते आहे. Anyway, since you people are not common students, okay, so again it is very important to have discussion, to study, okay, whatever sources available on the basis of that. So आपला अभ्यास करणं हे काम आहे. Yeah, Rini want to say something. Yeah, Rini.
Yes, sir.
Rini.
So, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Constitution explicitly states that the state can only endeavor to achieve a common code among its citizens rather than enforce it. The implementation of UCC also violates the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution, including Article 25, which is freedom to profess and practice one's religion, and Article 29, which is the right to have a distinct culture. It also contradicts to the provisions granted to states like Nagaland and Mizoram. So now, if the intentions of the today's government to have a uniform civil code is to promote national integration by eliminating adherence to long-standing customs. So, being a country with so many variety of communities, so will all the communities be willing to make concessions on their traditions? That is the question. And if their aim is to address the discriminatory practices against women, so why not reform the personal laws that are being misinterpreted? Now, political scientists argue that while personal laws do need an upgrade, the path towards any UCC must run through consensus. So, without that, they say that proposal is a little more than a political move geared towards the election, which is potentially dangerous consequences for the world's largest democracy. Now, already Aditya has mentioned about Ambedkar's view, and BJP leaders have cited Ambedkar's support for UCC as they pushed it in this proposal in the parliament. But we should also see if it's actually in sync with the vision of Ambedkar. Now, Ambedkar supported the inclusion of a uniform civil code in the DPSP, but he was mindful of the serious objections several Muslim members of the Constituent Assembly had to it. Ambedkar had also hoped no government would exercise its power to enact a uniform code in a way that would provoke the Muslim community to rise in rebellion. So basically, he felt that a UCC could be introduced initially as a voluntary code and that parliament would certainly not enforce citizens to follow it. So we can see that even Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was very much sensitive towards this and mindful towards this issue as having a uniform civil code in a country which is so diverse is uh, is a very sensitive issue. So basically, what we need is a more sensitive outlook towards this issue than a selfish political agenda. Being a diverse country, framing a uniform civil code that takes into consideration the minorities and the deprived section is important, as they'll be the first ones to rebel against it, as they do see it as a threat to their personal rights. So I feel they can upgrade the personal laws and take the step towards framing a uniform civil code gradually, because there are a lot of things that are needed to be taken into consideration. And if UCC is implemented hastily, it can go wrong. So I am in favor of UCC, but just like Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's stand, it should be accepted voluntarily by everyone. Since the framers of the constitution were so conscious about this issue, so we should also be conscious about it.
Right. And yes, Very important point raised by Rainy. And the one more thing you must have read that the few tribal organizations, they oppose the implementation of UCC or this overall program of UCC. Are you aware about that? Many tribal organizations in India, they are also having objections about this UCC or whatever
Yes,
government
sir.
trying to push this topic of UCC. Okay, are you aware about that? On
They
many
have
of
they have been protesting for a separate civil law, although they get their own concessions in scheduled areas under Hindu civil law. But they have been protesting for a national law for tribals, where every tribal custom will be noted and then that will be codified that way instead of a UCC, where no one knows what it is, but everyone is talking about it. So there's this confusion. See, there's another this is like a very dystopian speculation that I'm making. So what happens with this change of seat? Like this, what is that? The the seats are being redistributed in the Lok Sabha. So some states are going to have more now from 2026, I think. So, if we have a UCC and then we have this redistribution of seats, so what can happen is this country will become de facto Hindu majority, because the distribution is in such a way that the saffron parties of Hindu majority states is going to come to power, and then we also have a UCC. So if this parliament tries to do away with reservation because it has to be renewed after every 10 years, say, so suppose they pass UCC now and then they do away with reservation in 2031, so the 2032 election they come back to power again, but this time there is no scheduled caste or scheduled tribe or even OBC, and whatever OBCs are there are already Hinduized. So they can make an amendment with UCC and make it Bharatiya UCC, which is basically Manusmriti. How are we going to deal with that? How it's not far away, it can happen. I can think about it, how to practically do it. How are we going to deal with that? So it's very suspicious when the saffron party is talking about secularism. Congress talking about it is one thing, but then these people it's very suspicious.
So can you say that that is the long-term vision of
I
the
mean, it's
party?
sort of obvious. It's like conspiracy theory domain, so we don't know really, but it's sort of obvious what they're trying to do. Now,
I mean,
or maybe not in 2030, but 2040 or 2050.
yeah,
it's a serious issue.
This is all conspiracy theory domain, so we can't be sure about it. But it's very obvious that what they are trying
but
to do. Very,
but
very obvious.
you it makes sense in a long-term perspective. It makes sense what you
I
just
know.
stated.
I mean that's the scary part. And it is making sense. That's the
Yes,
scary part.
yes, correct.
He is talking about the possibilities. Aditya is talking about the possibilities.
Sir, it
Okay.
can be
And
very possible in the near future, in my opinion.
so many things already, they have made so many things possible now. Okay. And we are experiencing those things. At least those people are experiencing so many things who are having some reading or who are having some a sense of observation. Rest of the society is silent, neutral, है ना? तो वही है कि सोए हुए लोग हैं तो उनको समझ में नहीं आता कि क्या हो रहा है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा जो पढ़े लिखे हैं, मतलब जो पढ़ रहे हैं, जैसे आदित्य एंड सम्यक एंड ओके रेनी जैसे जो सोसायटी में लोग हैं, सो दे कैन अंडरस्टँड की व्हॉट इज हॅपनिंग. ओके. आता या ग्रुप डिस्कशन मध्येच बघा कितीतरी लोक सायलेंट आहेत. ओके. बिकॉज काही लोकांना हे पण लक्षात येत नसेल की सर काय बोलतायत, आदित्य काय बोलतोय, रेनी काय बोलतोय. So the
This,
same.
no, these liberals, they used to say silence is violence. I used to laugh at them. But अभी आता समजतंय आपल्याला ते काय काय म्हणण्याचा प्रयत्न करतायत ते. There's this one another thing uh, like every democracy, there's only one democracy which has for example the USA. they had to fight a civil war to save their constitution. Like it's a historical event. So they had to fight. So it is like, it is a little idealistic for us to think that we wouldn't have to do that, because like just like in America, they had this constitution and they had to fight a civil war to for the principles of that constitution to save democracy and liberty and so on and so forth. So it is like sort of a possibility that we might have to do it. Like I've heard people saying that, like
बोल. Hello, Aditya.
hello.
Yes, continue.
So there is like this historical event, like history repeats itself, like first as a tragedy and then as a farce, like Mark said that. तर like तिसच्या बाहेर येऊन हे सगळं आता हे एको होतंय डोक्यात. तेव्हा मी हसायचो त्यांच्यावर, जेव्हा ते थोडे बसायचे कुर्ते आणि झोल्या घालून. But now it is like echoing when you leave it, that okay, like this makes sense.
Yeah, there are so many possibilities in near future. In fact, the so many things already started and we are experiencing. So ठीक आहे. आणखी बाकी कोणाला याच्यामध्ये डिस्कस
So,
करायचं आहे?
like, these are all possibilities stated by us, but if we are silent on these matters, then it's only a matter of time till it becomes reality.
तेच म्हणतोय मी की बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी ऑलरेडी प्रॅक्टिस मध्ये आलेल्या आहेत, बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी झालेल्या आहेत. आता आणखी वाट किती बघायची?
Sir, even if we look at other aspects, apart from the Uniform Civil Code, the government is also trying to bring that one nation, one election scheme. That is also I think a serious threat to the federalism of our country.
त्याच्यावरती आपण सेपरेट डिस्कशन घेणार आहोत. ज्यांना या विषयावरती बोलायचं असेल त्यांनी मला नाव पाठवावी. Okay. One nation, one election, that would be again very important topic. Okay, for our discussion.
Yeah,
Yes,
sir, so
Utkarsha.
that is
Utkarsha, you want to say something related to UCC? Utkarsha. Mohit?
Yes, sir.
Any
तर
views
माझं म्हणणं असं आहे का बा युसीसी इम्प्लिमेंट करायचं आहे तर का सोसायटी त्याच्यासाठी रेडी आहे का नाही. कारण की इफ आपण फोर्सफुली इम्प्लिमेंट केलं तर मग जसं तुम्ही म्हटलं की ट्रायबल कम्युनिटीज आहे आणि मायनॉरिटी कम्युनिटीज ते मग अपोज करतील आणि मग कारण की ते युपीसीच्या आयडियाज अपोज करत आहेत तर मग ते इम्प्लिमेंट केलं तर अजून खूप केऑस क्रिएट होणार सोसायटीमध्ये. आणि ड्राफ्ट करणं काही म्हणजे खूप कठीण काम नाहीये. आता गोवाजवळ त्यांच्या स्वतःचा लॉ आहेच बाकी रिलिजन्ससाठी, तर त्याच्या एक्झाम्पल घेऊन आपण ड्राफ्ट करू शकतो ना. आणि एकदम इम्प्लिमेंट करायचं आहे तर मग छोटे छोटे जे ऍक्ट्स नाही तर लॉज आहेत हे इम्प्लिमेंट करण्यानंतर आपण युसीसी सारखा मोठा मुद्दा आपण इम्प्लिमेंट करू शकतो ताकी जास्त केऑस क्रिएट होणार नाही. आणि पीपल तेवढे लिटरेट नाही आहेत का बा त्यांना कळू शकते का बा आपण जे प्रॅक्टिसेस करून राहिलो ते रॅशनला की इरॅशनला ते महत्वाचं आहे अजून.
People are actually not aware about, like, general very common population of India, they are not even aware about what is UCC.
Yes, exactly. People were also practicing untouchability and discrimination, but we have to stop that because that were very rational and against the dignity of a person. And मागच्या आता कोविडच्या फेज मध्ये पीपलचा म्हणजे बाकी मनुष्यात ते वॅक्सिन घेणं सुद्धा अपोज करत होते पण आपणला फोर्सफुली करावंच लागलं ते कारण की इट वॉज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट. सो ते पण एक महत्वाचं आहे.
एनिवे, बाकीच्यांना कोणाला बोलायचं आहे आणखी? अदर स्टुडंट्स? सर्वेश, सारंग, यस, उमंग.
सर, इन माय ओपिनियन जसे उत्कर्षताईंनी म्हटले की लोक म्हणजे रेडी आहेत युनिफॉर्म सिव्हिल कोडला ऍक्सेप्ट करायला, तर माझ्या ओपिनियन मध्ये असं आहे सर की ऑल द वुमन्स आर रेडी टू ऍक्सेप्ट दॅट बट द मेल्स डिडंट वॉन्ट टू बिकॉज दे नो की इफ युनिफॉर्म सिव्हिल कोड इम्प्लिमेंट झालं तर असं होणार की ते आता आमच्या खांद्यातून खांदा मिळणं म्हणजे कोणी कोणी माणसाला असं वाटतं की नाही ते घरातच बसली पाहिजे आणखी काही करायला नाही पाहिजे. तर इन माय ओपिनियन की सर्व वुमन्स लोक तर आहेतच रेडी, बट ते मेल्स जे डॉमिनेट करतात त्यांना की नाही झालं पाहिजे.
ओके,
थँक्यू.
मेलचं ऑब्जेक्शन आहे.
हा येस सर, मेल्सचं ऑब्जेक्शन आहे.
कुठल्या मेलचं ऑब्जेक्शन आहे? त्याच्यामध्ये कॅटेगरीज आहेत ना मेल्सच्या.
हो सर. आहे त्याचं तर
मेल्सच्या
तेच
कॅटेगरीज
बघत आहे
आहेत.
कारण
मेल्समध्ये मेल्सच्या कॅटेगरीज आहेत, कुठल्या सेक्शन्स आहेत, सोसायटीज आहेत, कम्युनिटीज आहेत. ओके, ठीक आहे. ओके, आणखी कोणाला बोलायचं याच्यामध्ये?
I mean, like, see, if you are like being like going to be a civil servant or even like someone, so you should avoid making these blanket statements which are baseless. So you will be taken seriously, because I can show you 100 Muslim women who are in favor of Muslim personal law because they are deeply believers of Islam. So saying that like they are against it because of XYZ reason, like most of them not like most of people here commenting have not even studied what is Islamic law, what is Hindu Dharma Shastra,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So when they study the Muslim law, they'll understand that okay, this is not very progressive, but it's way more progressive than Dharma Shastra, because women and this Goa civil code, this Portuguese civil code. So in Goa civil code, a Hindu man can marry 2 times if his first marriage does not produce a male child, but a Muslim man cannot marry more than 1 time. So why? Because in Islam, a girl child can inherit property from her father. That's not the case in Hinduism. So the Portuguese allowed a Hindu man to have a second wife so he can get a male child. But the Muslim man was not allowed because his daughter can anyway inherit his property. So we have to like consider, we need to have a very deep level of study before making commentary on these matters. It's very necessary. If you want to be taken seriously, that is.
Yes, very valid point Aditya raised. Okay, so that's why earlier
आणि
also.
सर आता
या उत्कर्षा.
आता जसा उमंग म्हणाला का बा विमेन फेवर मध्ये आहे, तर मोस्टली विमेनला तर त्यांच्या फंडामेंटल राईटच माहित नसतात, तर मग युसीसी तर मोठीच गोष्ट आहे. तर मला असं वाटते गव्हर्नमेंटनी याच्याबद्दल अवेअरनेस हे करासाठी काही सेमिनार्स ठेवले पाहिजे, ज्याच्याबद्दल मग ते किऑस क्रिएट होणार नाही एकदम इम्प्लिमेंट करण्याच्या वेळेस, कारण की एवढे इलेक्शन कॅम्पेन्स करतात.
लिटरसी इज इम्पॉर्टंट.
लिटरसी इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट.
Right. Literacy. Every So, but government is not doing that because see, government just want to see like discussions, debates, okay, protest. So, see, these are those issues which create some debates. Okay, they start some debates, some protest moments. Okay, and so many things. So political parties are very shrewd. Okay, they just want to check what is the reaction of this. So they start a debate. Okay, they just introduce the topic and they start a debate. We have taken this issue because with respect to your examination, this is important. There is a possibility of the question. Okay, there is a possibility of constitutional provision like Article 44. There is a possibility of certain cases which are some or another way linked to this topic. So we are discussing. But what about the society? Okay, so society is somehow not very educated. Okay, women group or male group, minority groups or majority groups. So they are not aware, they are not literate, they are not very deeply studied, right? जसं आदित्यनी खूप म्हणजे I appreciate Aditya's viewpoint that if you are discussing these things, so you should have a deep knowledge. But where you find this deep knowledge? म्हणजे मी तुम्हालाच आता हा विषय एक 7 days before दिला, तर तुमच्यापैकी बघा, you people are preparing for the very toughest examination of this country. Okay, but I am finding that only 4 or 5 students are speaking and rest of the students are keeping silence. Okay, so where is the intellectual society? Where is that society which is having deep-rooted knowledge? Okay, so from this group only we can identify the clear picture of the society. मतलब आप लोग पढ़ने वाले बच्चे हो, फिर भी आप पढ़ते नहीं हो, है ना, फिर भी आप उसके ऊपर जो एक अच्छा अध्ययन करना चाहिए, ओके, वो करते नहीं हो, तो फॉरगेट अबाउट द सोसाइटी, फॉरगेट अबाउट द मुस्लिम वुमेन और हिंदू वुमेन और द majorities and the minorities. Okay, basically these discussions, and whenever we are addressing such kind of topic, and whenever we are expecting that government should do this, should not do this, okay, implement असं करायचं तसं करायचं, तर सोसायटी म्हणून आपण जागरूक असणं फार गरजेचं आहे. तेव्हाच त्याच्या रिॲक्शन्स या पॉझिटिव्ह किंवा निगेटिव्ह नेमक्या कशा आहेत याचं एक क्लिअर पिक्चर आपल्याला दिसतं. Okay, so unfortunately, society is very silent on such important topics, issues, and त्यांना माहिती पण नसतं अनेक लोकांना. अनेक मुस्लिम वुमेन असतील, हिंदू वुमेन्स असतील. आज हिंदू वुमेन सुद्धा अनेक गोष्टी, डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी गोष्टी फेस करतात. त्यांच्या फेवरमध्ये लॉज आहेत, पण त्या लॉज बद्दल त्यांना माहिती नाही. ओके, लॉज फेवरमध्ये असल्यानंतरही त्याचा मिसयूज होतो, कधी त्याचा यूज होतो. ओके, अजूनही त्या डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रॅक्टिसेस हिंदू वुमेन्सच्या संदर्भात सुरू असतात समाजामध्ये, आपण बघतो. म्हणजे इवन आफ्टर passing of so many laws. So the awareness is very important, I feel. Literacy is very important. Intellectual development of the society is very important. And in the long run, we can identify whether it was a political ball game, whether Sarkar is very serious about the Muslim women's or the minority women's, because specifically when they try to introduce UCC, so their main propaganda is that they are doing this to safeguard the rights of the Muslim women. Okay, हा एक महत्वाचा प्रोपोगंडा आहे. म्हणजे they try to establish this very important notion that they are very much conscious about the rights of the Muslim women. And another propaganda is that Muslim women are sufferers because of the religious laws. This is another this thing. Okay, and that's why many of the Muslim leaders, they are opposing this thing, right? But then when one community or when one political party is supporting the issues of the women belong to the another community, then what about the women of their own community? What about their rights? Okay. What about the issues like Manipur? What about the so many issues like which happen at Hathras in Uttar Pradesh? What about the so many issues of the social discrimination which are happening in the different parts of the country? ठीक आहे, तर हे कशा असतात, हे पॉलिटिकल बॉल गेम्स असतात खूप सारे, आणि त्याच्याच वरती आपले ओपिनियन आणि अशा गोष्टी जनरेट होत असतात. ठीक आहे. सो आदित्यला काहीतरी बोलायचं आहे, त्याच्यानंतर आपण कन्क्लूड करू. ठीक आहे, या आदित्य.
Like very related one was like that Sabrimala thing. Like BJP did a complete U-turn on that. So they were like, it is Hindu woman's choice, religious choice, that she is not choosing to go in the temple. Well, if we accept that argument, then it should be also a choice of Muslim woman to be governed as per the Hadith or the Sunnah. So, like, if we go by the logic, like it's Hindu woman's choice and we should give her the choice to not go into the temple, well, it's fine. Then we should also give the Muslim woman the choice to be governed as per the Sunnah or whatever. So that is like flipping, like they never, like it's their own argument like 4 years ago, and now they have done a complete 180 on that. So
there is a Shabrimala, there is a Shabrimala case, there is a Shabrimala temple case, and unfortunately in the Shabrimala temple case, the women judge of the Supreme Court, I forgot her name, what she replied in her judgment, it was, I think, a bench of 5, okay, or 4, it must be 4 or 5. The 3 male members of that Supreme Court bench, they were in favor of the rights of the Hindu women to enter into the Shabrimala temple, and these women judge, what she expressed, that the religion is having its own logic. So we cannot understand that logic. So it is up to the religion whether they are allowing those Hindu women to enter into the Shabrimala temple or not. So it was very unfortunate interpretation by that women judge, women Hindu judge. Okay, so actually she was not in favor of that entry of women into the Shabrimala temple. म्हणजे हे Supreme Court's example आहे. Just 4-5 years back, this was a very controversial case all over the India. You must be aware about that case also. Okay, so काय असतं ते की हा yes, so that is a problem. That is a point ki on one way they are trying to sympathize or they are trying to show the sympathy in favor of the women belong to the one community, and on the other hand they are imposing their own religious restrictions on the women of the same community, okay, within the same community. So हे सगळं डबल स्टैंडर्ड असतो सगळा है ना, ते डबल धोलकी वाला काम है ये. डबल धोलकी मतलब ऐसे भी बजाओ ऐसे भी बजाओ. Okay, so that is a problem. And since our society is very patience, we as a society we are very we are having very patience. Okay, we are आपण काय म्हणतात त्याला की आपण फार सहनशील आहोत सगळेच्या सगळे महिला आहेत आणि हे आणि संपूर्ण सोसायटी. त्याच्यामुळे आपण याला रिॲक्ट करत नाही है ना. एक सुप्रीम कोर्टची जज हिंदू धर्माचं लॉजिक चा पार्ट आहे, महिलांनी मंदिरात प्रवेश घ्यायचा की नाही असं जर बोलून मोकळी होत असेल तर मग सुप्रीम कोर्टाला पण कोणीतरी वाचवणं गरजेचं आहे. आणि त्या भारतीय हिंदू महिलांच्या हक्कासाठी, त्यांच्या राईटसाठी कोणीतरी आणखी परत एकदा म्हणजे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज हॅव्हिंग प्रोव्हिजन्स, सो मेनी प्रोव्हिजन्स. ओके, त्याच्यासाठी परत एकदा काहीतरी अवेअरनेस क्रिएट करणं फार आवश्यक आहे. एनिवे, इन टुडेज डिस्कशन it was good discussion, okay, but I am expecting the participation, active participation, knowledgeful participation of rest of the students, because if you are not studying the topics, okay, so the discussion would not help you. Okay, जे काही डिस्कशन होत आहे ते तुम्हाला समजलं पाहिजे ना, है ना. म्हणजे मी काय बोलत असेल, आणखी बाकीचे लोक काही बोलत असेल, ज्यांनी ते प्रेझेंटेशन केलं ते काही बोलत असेल, तर तुम्हालाही समजलं पाहिजे. आणि स्वतःचं थोडस नॉलेज बेस वाढवण्याचा प्रयत्न करा. प्रेझेंटेशन देत असताना एक फ्लो असला पाहिजे तुमचा, कुठेही मध्ये काय म्हणतात त्याला गॅप येऊ नये, तुमचा फ्लो चांगला ठेवा. असं अंडरस्टँड करा, असं समजा की यू आर अ पर्सन हु इज हॅव्हिंग फुल नॉलेज ऑफ दॅट टॉपिक. ओके, and now you are an authoritative person. Okay, किसी को कुछ पता नहीं है, आपको सब कुछ पता है. Okay, but have good references, proper references. Okay, and try to present yourself, because ultimately this is very helpful to all of you to qualify your examinations also. And the most important part of this discussion is that I am very much sure about the sensitization. Okay, because these topics, this discussion will make you sensitize, okay, or at least awaken you about so many issues, है ना. So we shall continue our discussion in the next week. And Utkarsha, she has taken this responsibility to discuss a very important topic which I have already shared you, and that topic require insight of international relation, because that topic is difficult topic, right? So Utkarsha, I am expecting nice presentation, but before you are presenting the basic things to make the people understand that topic properly. Okay, so get it simplified and then start your discussion in the next week, right?
Hello, sir.
Ha,
Okay,
Samay,
sir.
bol.
Sir, I just want to ask you a personal question, that are you in favor of UCC or no? Because I wanted to hear your opinion also on this topic.
स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड आन्सर नाही देता येत. तेच आहे की म्हणजे तीच गोष्ट आहे की आपण ज्यावेळेस एखादी गोष्ट एखाद्या स्पेसिफिक कम्युनिटीला टार्गेट करून म्हणा किंवा when we are talking about the rights of the women, okay, so one should understand the rights of women of all communities, okay, आणि मग त्याच्याशी रिलेटेड काय काय गोष्टी आहे, बरोबर. जसं हिंदू कोड बिल आलं होतं, तर हिंदू कोड बिलला अपोज कोणी केला होता त्यावेळेस? हिंदू लिडर्सनीच अपोज केला होता. ओके, हिंदू कोड बिल,
हिंदू महासभा,
हा है ना, and the leaders of the Congress also, okay, that time. So basically the thing is that when we are talking about the rights of the women or the male or the society, entire society, then the society need to be aware ki what is happening. Okay, तर म्हणजे एखाद्याला आपण म्हटलं की बाबा हे आम्ही वी आर इम्प्लिमेंटिंग दिस थिंग अँड दिस इज फॉर युअर बेनिफिट, आहे की नाही? तर मग त्याच्या डोक्यात जर फार 100 वर्षापासून असं असेल की त्यांनी ती गोष्ट बघितलीच नसेल किंवा त्यांनी ती गोष्ट एक्सपिरियन्सच केली नसेल, तर त्याला ते कसं कळणार ना की हे माझ्या बेनिफिटचं आहे म्हणून. हा, तर तेच आहे की when you are implementing, when you are trying to impose or trying to implement the things, you need to make aware people about the benefits of that specific product. Okay, ते लोकांना समजून सांगा, त्याच्यावरती अवेअरनेस घ्या. त्याच्यामधले जे काही कॉन्ट्रावर्सीज असतील, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स असतील, लोकांच्या ज्या काही सस्पिशियस क्वेश्चन्स असतील, ते तुम्ही कन्फ्युजन दूर करा. बिकॉज कन्फ्युजन क्रिएट्स अ कन्फ्युजन. कन्फ्युजन असेल तर कन्फ्युजनच क्रिएट करेल. आणि जसं सगळ्यांनीच म्हणजे आदित्य रैनीनी ज्या साईट केल्या डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांची की ग्रॅज्युअली या गोष्टी होणं गरजेचं आहे ना. बघा, सगळ्यात महत्वाचा टर्निंग पॉइंट ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी म्हणजे ब्रिटिश पार्लमेंटने घेतला होता 1857च्या रिव्होल्ट नंतर. बिकॉज वेन दे सी द इम्प्लिमेंटेशन ऑफ so many social reforms in the Indian society, so that those reforms was one of the reasons of the revolt of 1857. It was not an all India revolt, but it was a revolt by a certain section of the society in a certain pocket of India. Okay, but they got alert, and they found that if we are interfering into the social reforms, or if we are interfering into the religious laws of the Hindus or the Muslims, then they are reactionary, then they are becoming reactionary. Okay, so considering that very important reason, that is socio-religious interference, finally they declared that we are not going to impose restrictions with respect to the religious customs of the Indian people, including Hindus and the Muslims. आणि मग त्यांनी त्याच्यामध्ये हे नाही केलं, त्यांनी मग दुसऱ्या अँगलने स्टार्ट केलं. तर तसाच हा थोडासा पॉइंट आहे. याला स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्डली येस किंवा नो नाही म्हणता येणार, परंतु याला आपल्याला हे म्हणावं लागेल की इफ इट इज रिअली गुड, देन इट नीड टू बी इम्प्लिमेंटेड. ओके, बट इट रिक्वायर अवेअरनेस. जेव्हा लोकांना वाटेल की नाही हे डेफिनेटली माझ्या फायद्याचं आहे, ओके, तेव्हा ते स्वतःच त्या गोष्टीला इम्प्लिमेंट करतील. तर त्यातल्या कॉन्ट्रोवर्सीज अवॉइड करून ते खूपच चांगलं असेल तर निश्चितपणे ते इम्प्लिमेंट व्हायला पाहिजे. पण त्याच्यामध्ये जे काही सस्पिशियस मुद्दे आहेत ते पूर्ण त्याच्यावरती ते डाऊट सगळे क्लिअर होऊनच नंतर पुढे गेलं तर इट वुड बी बेटर फॉर द सोसायटी. ओके, चला, सो आय स्टॉप दिस कन्क्लुजन हिअर. ओके, सो आय एम लाईव्ह हिअर फ्रॉम नागपूर. Okay, the Kranti Bhumi Nagpur. Okay, and we are discussing a very important topic. Okay, which is again very important and controversy, as well as if you see the another aspect, so it is revolutionary also. Okay, so I conclude this today's discussion. Thank you, Vedika, and thank you rest of the students. Okay, sure. Bye for the day. Good night.